617-266-6868 if you want to be part of the show. Jeff Kuhner, Boston's Bulldozer. My friends, this story is a couple of days old, and I haven't had a chance to get to it because there's been the immigration issue and so many other important topics that I wanted to touch on. But it's a very, very important cultural watershed moment that I believe we have now arrived at. Recently, a few days ago, Pope Francis gave an interview to a 90-year-old atheist journalist. Apparently, it's an interview he's been giving with him now on several occasions. They're having some kind of a running debate. And so this interview was published in the Italian newspaper La Repubblica, and now it's on BBC, and it's on American, especially liberal news sites and papers all across the country. And what the liberals in the United States and the liberals in Europe are pouncing on is allegedly what this journalist claims is that the Pope has now said that he is open to changing the celibacy rule or celibacy requirement for priests. He also went on to say in the news, in this article, allegedly, the Vatican is disputing some parts of this, but allegedly, according to what this 90-year-old atheist journalist claims, is that the Pope said that there was 2%, he believes 2% of the priest population, he believes are pedophiles or were pedophiles. And he is vowing to crack down on them and get rid of them. This is in contrast to the general population, which the BBC states and other newspapers are stating, that about 5% of the general population is composed of pedophiles. And yet the liberal media is jumping all over this, saying, you see, you need desperately to get rid of celibacy. They're trying to create a link between celibacy for priests and the sex abuse scandal and pedophilia, the abuse of children, the sexual abuse of children. And it's as if these liberals are determined, absolutely determined, to utterly transform and destroy the Roman Catholic Church. And whenever this Pope opens his mouth on any issue, they pounce all over it and try to give it the spin that they want to somehow, they believe, justify or vindicate their radical secular liberal point of view. They're trying to turn this Pope into the Obama of the Catholic Church. They're desperate. And again, they're trying to make this link between celibacy and pedophilia. And even if you look at the BBC's own piece, according to their own figures, well, if there's a link between celibacy and sexual abuse of children, as the liberals are trying to make, desperately trying to make, how is it that by their own statistics, if you have 5% of the general population, which the general population is not required to practice celibacy, in fact, it's the exact opposite, in the United States, in Canada, and in Europe, the sexual revolution is on. People are having sex left, right, and center. Believe me, there's not a shortage of sex in America or in Canada or in Europe. So people aren't celibate, people aren't chaste, and yet you have 5% of the general population allegedly are pedophiles or have pedophile tendencies. So you have celibacy in the Catholic Church, and the figure is much lower. It's 2%. So if there was a link between celibacy and sexual abuse, the figure should be the opposite. They should be higher in the Catholic Church, in the priest population, than in the general population. So frankly, even their own figures don't add up. But let that go. That's not the real issue. The real issue for the libs is they want the celibacy requirement dismantled. They want it erased. They want it eliminated. And as I was telling Cooksey on the drive-in today, you want to talk about liberal totalitarianism. You want to talk about why this issue is so important culturally. It is the tyranny of diversity. They keep claiming, if you've noticed, all of these radical secularists, all of these liberals keep telling us over and over again, we want tolerance and compassion and respect for diversity. But everybody's got to be the same. Every institution has to be the same. How come they can't tolerate one institution, one religious group that requires its priests to be celibate? What's the problem? You say you're for diversity. You can't have diversity of religious groups with diversity of religious practices? You say you're for tolerance. You can't be tolerant of different religious groups with different religious practices? You say you're compassionate. You can't be compassionate for different groups with different practices? Now, to many liberal Catholics who rail about celibacy and they want priests to be able to be married and they have other issues as well. They want them to endorse abortion. They want them to support same-sex marriage. They want the Catholic Church to have female priests, yada, yada, yada. The list goes on. If you don't like the Catholic Church, no one has put a gun to your head. The Pope, this is not Islam. The Pope is not running some caliphate. No one's rocking around with a gun to your head saying you have to remain in the Catholic Church. If you feel that strongly, if you think that somehow priests should be married, become an Episcopalian, become an Anglican, become a Presbyterian, become a Baptist, become whatever you want to become. No one's stopping you. But in the Catholic Church, for 1,000 years, there has been the tradition that priests are supposed to be celibate. They're supposed to aspire and make a vow of celibacy. Now, I'll get to the reason why in a second, and why it's very important. But here is the key point, and it is the mother of key points. Why are the liberals obsessed with getting rid of the celibacy requirement for priests? Why? Most of them are not Catholics. Most of them are not even Christian. Most of them are not even religious. You have a 90-year-old atheist that the Pope keeps giving interviews to. What does an atheist care for what's good for the Catholic Church? How does it bother him if a priest is celibate? So why this obsession to go after the celibacy rule or requirement for priests? My friends, it's very simple and it's very obvious. The mandate that priests should be celibate is a direct repudiation of the sexual revolution. It is a stark reminder, it is there as a model, that you can be chaste. That men are not just simply driven by their animal sexual impulses. That in fact, like Jesus, you can transcend them. If you want, if you aspire to that, if that is your calling. And that is the one thing the liberals cannot tolerate, because it refutes everything that they've been trying to say for the last 50 years. That we are essentially sexual animals. That we must give in to all of our sexual impulses, whatever they may be. You want to fool around? You want to be permissive and promiscuous? Go ahead. It's good for you. You want to have births out of wedlock? Good for you. You want to have a consequence-free society when it comes to sex? Kill the child, have an abortion. You want homosexuality? It's good for you. Whatever it is, you want to be transgendered, you want to be bisexual? It's good for you. There are no limits. Anything goes. A non-judgmental society. So to have a model of actual chastity, of celibacy, flies in the face of the entire sexual revolution. And that's why they have to destroy the Catholic Church, and in particular its mandate that priests are celibate. I said this to my wife the other day. We were just chatting about this. And I said, Grace, I don't get this. To me, I don't want to trivialize religion or people's faith or their religious beliefs. But it's like the Mickey Mouse Club. You may not, look, it's the Mickey Mouse Club. There are many people who can say, you know what, I don't like the fact that Mickey is a mouse. Why does Mickey have to be a mouse? Why isn't Mickey a rabbit? Why isn't Mickey a rhinoceros? Why isn't Mickey a cow? Why isn't Mickey a horse? Why does it have to be a mouse? I don't like it that he's a mouse. Well, if you don't like it that Mickey is a mouse, form your own club. So when you join the Mickey Mouse Club, you adhere to the rules and regulations and principles of the Mickey Mouse Club. It's really that simple. If you don't like the Catholic Church's teachings on abortion, on homosexuality, on same-sex marriage, on pornography, or in this case on celibacy for priests, join another club. Join another church. But you don't want that. You always want to change everything to conform to your multicultural, secular, liberal worldview. And it's like that for everything. You can't have an all-male college. Why not? You can have an all-female college. Why does everything have to be co-ed? I mean, I could do it on issue after issue after issue. Everybody has to have the same point of view, the liberal point of view. In the name of tolerance, they're intolerant. Now, as for celibacy, many people say for the first 900 years of the church, in fact, priests were allowed to get married. True. And then the church changed. And it's been this way now for about 1,000 years. Ballpark. Why? I learned this straight from my experiences with family members in Eastern Europe. The way to break somebody is to go through their wife and their children. When you have somebody opposing a regime, take Eastern Europe, which was very common, the way they want to break you, my grandfather would always tell me this, is they would say, you know what, maybe you're going to be immune to pain, but if we threaten to kill your wife and your children, then people always relented. I know personally, I could endure a lot of pain, but if I'm somehow being tortured, and they want me to submit to a regime, let's say an atheistic communist regime, you go after my wife and my children and threaten to kill them, I could easily break. And so the purpose of having a priesthood, not to be married, is that they are married to the church. They are warriors for God. They are preachers for God. They are missionaries for God. Their bride is the church. And the reason why you have that vow of celibacy is that then they will be free not to be tortured, not to be intimidated, not to have this specter of being able to use one's family against them. That's why, for example, under Nazism and under communism, many priests had heroic resistance. Because the one thing the KGB couldn't do, you can't break a priest by using his wife and children against him. Another reason is you want to send somebody, let's say to Latin America or Africa, to do missionary work, to take care of the poor. A lot of wives and children would say, I don't want to go to some hellhole in Africa or Latin America. And so a priest then has a dual allegiance. That's one of the reasons why you have a rule of celibacy. So he has allegiance for one particular institution, in this case the church. Now, my point is this. You may disagree with this. That's fine. You may say, Jeff, in my faith tradition, my minister, my pastor, whatever, my priest, if I'm an Orthodox Christian, is married. That's fine. God bless you. That's my point. I'm truly tolerant. I don't tell you how to run your religious affairs. I don't tell Protestants, you know what, your minister should be celibate. It's up to you. I don't tell rabbis, I don't tell the Jews, you know what, your rabbis, they shouldn't have so many wives. They shouldn't be married. They should all be celibate. That's up to your faith tradition. What I don't understand is, how come the liberals, the militant secular liberals, keep telling the Catholic Church what's best for them? That's like the coach of the New York Jets. Literally, that's like the coach of the New York Jets trying to tell Bill Belichick what's best for his team. Catholic priests should remain celibate because it's the right thing to do, it's the Catholic thing to do, and to me, it's because it is the thing that has helped the church for the last thousands of years. You disagree with it, That's your right. But what I can't stand is the intolerance of liberals who will not leave the Catholic Church alone. You know what that is, my friends? It's anti-Catholic bigotry. And it's about time it stopped. My question to you is this. Pope Francis has now said he is willing to look at whether priests should no longer remain celibate. Is this a practice that should be eradicated? Is it time for celibacy in the church to go? Or should we keep it? What do you say, Boston? 617-266-6868 is the number. 822 on the great WRKO. All of your calls. Next. 826 here on the great WRKO. 617-266-6868. Pope Francis has said he is open to possibly changing the requirement that priests be celibate. Good idea, bad idea? I want to hear from you, Kuhner Country. Mike, you're up next. Thanks for holding and welcome.
Jeff, I could really care less about celibacy and the, about should nuns marry priests. But I'll say one thing. They have the perfect guy ahead of the church that will that'll open up the conversation. I'm not worried about what this Pope advocates for. Illegal immigration, no borders, social justice. And he gives us a tongue lashing when we're against this stuff, this Pope. I think he's a Jesuit, radical, Marxist thinker. That's what I'm afraid of. I could care less about celibacy and everything else. I think this guy's dangerous, and he's on board with Obama and the New World Order. How do you like that?
Thank you for that call, Mike. 617-266-6868 is the number. Who do you want me to go to next, Brittany? Bill, you're up next. Thanks for holding. Go ahead, Bill.
Good morning, Jeff. How are we doing today?
Very, very good. How are you, Bill?
Hey, Jeff, you telling me you are disagreeing with the Pope? I mean, are you the head guy now?
Well, Bill, are you a practicing Catholic?
I am not.
Okay, well, that just shows how ignorant you are.
One reason you didn't bring up, though, is there just isn't enough priests to go around. That's the biggest problem. Nobody's signing up for the job anymore. Well,
that's a different reason. There are different reasons for that. But the point is this, Bill, getting back to your earlier point, the Pope, when he talks about celibacy, is not part of doctrine. He's not speaking ex cathedra. So it's like if the Pope is talking about the war in Iraq. You can disagree. The point is, when they talk about papal infallibility, see, most liberals don't know this because they're utterly ignorant about religion and about the church. When you talk about papal infallibility, it's about very narrow issues of doctrine. Yes, there the Pope, guided by the Holy Spirit, is infallible. But when he talks about celibacy, that's not part of doctrine. That's just a practice. So you can definitely disagree with the Pope. In fact, the Pope hasn't even said he's against celibate priests. All he said is he's open to a discussion. That's all he said.
Jeff, one other point I want to bring up here, too, is back before priests had to be celibate, they would have property, and then in the Catholic Church, and they were taking the property out of the Catholic Church, and the Catholic Church wanted to put a stop to it. And that was one of the reasons why they made priests celibate.
Yes, no, you're right. There are many reasons, and one of them was that it's also patronage. You don't want to have children. If you have children, you don't want them to leave them property or whatever. So that's another reason. In other words, you want them to be married to the church. The church is their bride. But
if the church wants to survive, they are going to need priests, and to need priests, they have to have people sign up.
Well, let me ask you this. How come Presbyterians are having a hard time recruiting ministers? How come Episcopalians? How come the United Church of Christ? How come you have so many Protestant denominations or other Christian denominations who allow their ministers or whatever, priests to be married, and they're having a shortage of priests?
They may be having, but they're still getting enough.
No, they're not. They're also dying. And in fact, if you really want to get into it, in Latin America, there's no problem getting priests. In Africa, there's no problem getting priests. The only problem where it's having a hard time getting priests is in the decadent secular West, is in Western Europe and North America. So clearly, there's enough sex to go around. You don't need sex to entice priests to come into the priesthood. There are other issues.
Jeff, the whole pedophilia thing didn't help things either.
No, but again, what you won't acknowledge is this. The BBC even admits that the percentage of pedophiles is much higher in the general population than in the Catholic Church. So, for example, there's much more higher instances of pedophilia in secular public schools. But you liberals don't want to talk about that. What you want to do is you want to use every crisis to hammer the church because you disagree with his views on abortion and homosexuality. We all know what the real deal is here, Bill. You're not a friend of the church. So you're going to tell me you care about the church? You're so worried about the lack of priests?
Jeff, the Catholic Church is like the mafia. They have their organization, and there's a hierarchy.
Tell me, how many people has the church killed? How many contracts? Tell me, how many contracts has the church put out on people?
Millions over time.
Oh, millions.
Oh, you never heard those stories? No.
What stories? Tell me, give me one example.
Jeff, stay the subject, okay?
Yes, no. You made the allegation that the church is like the mafia, and I want to back it up. I want to call you out on it. Where is the church giving out contracts to murder people like the mob does?
What were those wars were called in the Middle Ages?
The Crusades?
There you go.
You know what the Crusades was about? That was radical Muslims who were occupying country after country. They were in Spain. They invaded Portugal. They invaded France. They invaded Italy. They invaded the Balkans. They overran Jerusalem. And the church tried to defend Christendom.
Were millions of people killed?
In a defensive, legitimate war. What are you talking to me about?
In the name of the church, millions of people were killed.
No. In the name of the church, invaded, occupied territory was liberated by the Catholic Church. Genius.
Jeff.
Let me turn this around. No, because you like to smear the Catholic Church because you're an anti-Christian, anti-Catholic bigot. So this is how I deal with you bigots. How many babies has your secular state killed under Roe v. Wade? How many babies?
It's the law of the land.
Oh, it's the law of the land. 50 million. And you're going to lecture me about the Catholic Church? Get lost. 617-266-6868, 832 on the Great WRKO. More with your calls. Next. 838 here on the Great WRKO. Jeff Kuhner, Boston's bulldozer, the voice of the resistance, and cleaning up the liberal bull. 617-266-6868 is the number. Pope Francis has said, allegedly, in a recent interview with a 90-year-old atheist journalist, that he is open to suggestions that priests in the Catholic Church, the Roman Catholic Church, should not be subjected to celibacy, that the celibacy requirement should be removed. He also said he believes about 2% of the priest population, there's about 414,000 priests, he believes about 8,000 he believes either were or are pedophiles. He is going to crack down on them and crack down on them hard. Do you think changing the celibacy requirement is a way to solve the sex abuse scandal in the Catholic Church? The secular liberal left says yes. I say no. What do you say, Boston? 617-266-6868. Let's go to Steve. You're up next. Thanks for holding and welcome.
Good morning, Jeff. I find it kind of comical when people call in that have never studied the Catholic Church or are practicing Catholics at all. When they start to comment on it and they have no understanding of what we do as Catholics or what the church itself teaches. I mean, if I went to parochial school my whole life, all I was taught was tolerance and forgiveness. True tolerance and forgiveness. Never to judge anybody for whatever reason. Religious views, homosexuality, abortion. I mean, I don't agree with either one of them, but I'm not God. I don't judge, and I was taught that. But you'll have these people calling in saying, oh, well, they do this, they do that, It's just a huge joke. As far as priests getting married, that's a tough question, but priests also take a vow of poverty, so I mean, it's just a vow. I guess, a deacon, which is part of the church, they marry, so.
So, Steve, what you're saying, you'd be open to that? You'd be open to that change?
I don't know. No, I don't necessarily agree with it. It's not going to attract more priests anyway. Like you said, we live in the decadent West. I mean, we have plenty of priests that from poorer countries that don't do that don't get married. They do take a vow of celibacy. I mean, it's just an attack on the Catholic Church for what reason? I don't know. We give more than any other religious faction out there, but it's like constantly attacking the Catholic Church, and it just makes it.
Steve, look, I'll tell you why. No, really, and I think all Christians need to be aware of this. The secular progressives are at war with religion. They have been at war with religion for the last 100 years. It is part of the Marxist project. They want to destroy three things: the family, the nation state, and religion. Because those are the three major bulwarks against the state, against state power. They want one world government. And so the way to destroy any resistance to one world government is to destroy the family, make people dependent upon government handouts, get rid of nations, get rid of borders. That's why, for example, Soros and Obama love unlimited third world immigration. They love as much illegal immigration as possible, because then there are no borders, there are no nations. And what is the biggest pillar of religious faith in the world? At least in the Christian world. It's the Roman Catholic Church. What is the one institution that stands against abortion, that stands against the sexual revolution, that stands against same-sex marriage? It's the Roman Catholic Church. So there has been an orchestrated campaign in popular culture, in academia, in the media, to present it as backward and Neanderthal and wicked and perverse and sick. They're like the mob. They order contracts on people. They kill people. They want to enslave people. When in fact, go to Latin America, go to Africa, go to the poorest places in the world. The Catholic Church has been one of the greatest institutions of charity the world has ever seen. Absolutely. There are so many priests coming out of Africa and Latin America. Honestly, they're sending them here because they don't have enough place for them in their own countries. So if celibacy was the problem, how come we're getting so many priests from the poorer parts of the world? No, the problem is here. And the issue here is there's no more faith left in the West. It's a dying faith. Christianity is in decline. People aren't going to church. Easter and Christmas are being privatized. There's been a war on Christianity. But outside of the West, the decadent West, the church is alive and well.
I grew up Catholic. Like I said, I went to parochial school my whole life. When I joined the military, I thought every Christian was Catholic. Everyone I knew was Catholic. When I got into the military and I got into the Navy, when I went to Catholic Mass, I was the only person there. And they were all Christians. We talk about pedophilia, but no one seems to mention all these pastors, that have slept with underage girls, in other parts of Christianity. Or you look at the state of education. Every day we see a teacher that's either taking pictures of girls or, molesting boys. It happens all the time, but we pick on the Catholic Church.
Bingo.
It's a joke.
Steve, and you're right, but I'll tell you the biggest one. You mentioned a couple, but the biggest one, it is a cultural practice in many Muslim countries for imams to have sex with boys and young girls. Child brides. It's rampant. It's common. Do you see the liberals condemning Islam? Do you see the liberals going after the Islamists or these militant Muslims saying, hey, stop having sex with so many children. Stop taking so many, having sex with boys or taking girls, brides at 11, 12, 13 years of age. Here, this is an historical fact. You can look it up. The Prophet Muhammad had multiple wives. That's why, for example, polygamy is practiced in many parts of the Muslim world. Because they say if it was good for Muhammad, it's acceptable for us. One of his brides was 12 years old. Where are the liberals? Where's the BBC? Where's the Boston Globe with their big special investigative series? Where's that 90-year-old atheist journalist? How come he's not running off to Saudi Arabia and asking all these imams, hey, how come you guys have so many 11, 12-year-old girls as brides? No. It's only the Christians that are wicked. It's called Christophobia. and it is the last fashionable bigotry left. And that's why it's time for Christians of all denominations to say enough is enough. We're not riding at the back of the bus anymore. 617-266-6868 is the number. Dave, you're up next. Thanks for holding. Welcome.
Hi, Jeff. Well, bingo. You actually just made my whole point. Bill and these other liberals, they're not just hypocrites, they're cowards, and you are correct. They'll protest Chick-fil-A or the St. Patty's Day Parade in South Boston, but they won't protest the treatment of women and homosexuals by Islam. And you're right. Why don't they go interview some mullah or some ayatollah and ask them about their treatment of women? I mean, they behead homosexuals. But you're right. You never hear about that. The Catholic Church is an easy target. But these cowards, the thing that we ought to be worried about, you said it's about attacking religion, except for one religion, and that's Islam, right? Join or die. Aren't we infidels? You know, the great unwashed? You never hear about that.
Bingo, Dave. You absolutely nailed it. Frank, you're up next. Thanks for holding, and welcome. Hello, Frank?
Yes, I'm sorry, Jeff. I didn't hear you.
It's okay. You're on the air. Go ahead, Frank.
Good morning. I was brought up in a very strict Catholic home. We had an edition of the Pilot on the coffee table all the time. My father was a lector. My mother went to church every day of her life. The Pope, I doubt very much, will ever succumb to priests being married. And there's a lot of reasons for that. One of it is his parish is his family. And to invite a family into his life would only complicate things for him. But the West, you're right, is we have turned our face away from God. There's a book written a couple of years ago called The Harbinger. I don't know if anyone's ever heard of that. It was written by a Jewish guy that there's a sect of the Jews that have now believe that Christ was the Messiah, and they're given a certain name. I don't know that, but his point in the book is that after 9/11, we all sang "God Bless America," and everybody went back to church, and then all of a sudden that all dwindled away. And this is what's the problem over here. People have turned away from God, and He has warned us. And if we don't heed it, then we're going to pay the consequences. But priests, I don't believe, will ever be married, or condoned by the Pope to be married. And that gentleman two callers ago to talk about the church that you really don't know what you're talking about is inflammatory.
Thank you for that call, Frank. 617-266-6868 is the number. Sarah, you're up next on the Kuhner Report. Thanks for holding. Go ahead, Sarah.
Hi there, Jeff. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. Listen, I want to preface everything with I'm an uber social conservative. I'm a Catholic, a practicing Catholic. I also have a pretty decent church history background. My daughter goes to Catholic school. And I am agreeing with you 100% on the liberal agenda. But here's where I feel about celibacy in the priesthood. I feel that your previous caller hit upon a point that's brought up very frequently when we're talking about priests being married. He said that the dedication that a priest needs to have to his relationship with God should preclude his ability to have a good marriage and a good family. I feel that you, Jeff, are dedicated to your profession 100%. I don't think that takes away from Grace and the kids. I'm 100% dedicated to my job as well. It doesn't take away from my family, I hope. I think that that's what the monks are for, that if you want that type of a relationship with God, that you should enter the monastery. I think that in today's first world nations, a priest should be able to relate to his flock, because that's what he is. He's a shepherd of the church. We look to him to be able to relate to us. It's very difficult to see these young couples come in for their marriage counseling, Jeff, and they're talking to a priest who has never had to struggle with the day-to-day challenges of marriage. I think that matrimony is also a holy state in the church. My marriage is a blessed one, and I feel that just as they have in the Anglican Church, just as they have in the Episcopalian Church, you can enjoy, both states. I would like to see our priests more able to relate to the people in their parish, because that is supposed to be their main work.
Sarah, very good call. Very intelligent. You've thought it out very well. You really make the argument for the other side extremely well. 617-266-6868 is the number. 8:51 on the great WRKO. More with your calls next.
Thoughts? Republican politicians.
Ideas.
Hate and fear the most.
Opinions.
When they're forced to tell the truth.
On AM 680 WRKO.
8:57 here on the great WRKO. 617-266-6868 is the number. Ronnie, you're up next. Thanks for holding. Go ahead, Ronnie.
Hey, good morning, Jeff. I agree with you. Isn't Sarah's argument on its surface very reasonable and convincing that a priest that can marry and own property can more, better relate to his flock and his congregation and understand their problems? The problem I have with that is that if you're going to agree with that, then you also have to, by default, agree that Jesus himself would have understood people better if he were married and he had children. And as a Christian, in no way am I prepared to say that. I mean, when you let people have their cake and eat it too, I mean, the reason the Catholic Church has these rules in place is because they understand that you cannot serve two masters. You can't serve your heavenly desires and your earthly desires simultaneously. And if you let priests marry, if you let them own property, you know what you end up with? You end up with Jim and Tammy Faye Baker. You end up with people that end up serving money, and God is simply the product that they sell to the masses. You completely corrupt your service to God, and that's why I just can't buy what Sarah's selling, although it does on the surface sound reasonable.
Ronnie, I missed you, number one. It's nice that you called back, my friend. No, and you nailed it. You absolutely nailed it. I was going to use a different analogy, but frankly, you used a better one. I was going to use the analogy of, well, let's say you're a doctor and you're treating cancer patients. The cancer patient can say, well, you've never had cancer, so just because you haven't had cancer, how do you know what I'm going through? Well, that just doesn't logically compute. So, no, I don't believe a priest needs to be married to be able to relate to married couples. And I certainly don't think priests should give up their vow of poverty. Look, the reason why the Catholic Church is an historical institution, it goes back 2,000 years. The reasons why they have these practices is they had it for 900 years. And it was a disaster when priests were married. And they said, no, the way to stop these people accumulating property, trying to pass things off to their kids, having all kind, sex and being obsessed with sex. They're like, no, you have to be married to your flock. The church is your bride. And I can just tell you from my personal Eastern European experience of my family, the Catholic Church was the bulwark against Soviet communism. The bulwark. And one of the major reasons why, whenever they tried to go after priests, they couldn't use the wife or the children or the family against them. Because their ultimate allegiance was to God and to the church. And it's why they were so heroic in their resistance. Look, cardinals wear a red gown. The reason why they wear that red gown, in theory, is because they are supposed to be ready to shed their blood for Jesus and for the church. To me, if you have a married priesthood, you have a compromised priesthood. 617-266-6868. My friends, coming up next, if you want to talk about compromised, our country being compromised, you're not going to believe the latest developments on the border. It's gone from bad to absolute worse. 9 o'clock on the great RKO. Let's take it to Angela in the newsroom.
News at the top and bottom. Talk in between.
And you and I are here to tell them that's enough.
This is AM 680 WRKO, Boston.
.906 here on the great WRKO. And now on 93.7 HD2, Hour 4, the Kuhner Report, 617-266-6868. You can text us at 680-680. Absolutely stunning developments now taking place at the border and the politics now of the immigration crisis. I got to tell you, my friends, this is getting pretty sickening. According now to Breitbart.com, there has now been a steady march of migrants who are now coming up from Central America, Honduras, El Salvador, Guatemala, and around Falfurrias, Texas, in Brooks County. They are now finding dead bodies. There is now a total of 42 bodies that have been found this year in the desert-like ranch fields surrounding the town of Falfurrias, right on the border, the Mexican-Texas border. Just recently, a body was found. It's been unidentified. They don't know if it's a male, a female, the age. Obviously was some kind of an illegal immigrant trying to get through. Utterly devoured and eaten up by animals. I mean, it's just a skeleton. I'm staring at a picture of this. It's like out of a horror movie. They're dropping like flies. This is a humanitarian catastrophe. And the person that I blame, and there's no getting around this, is Barack Hussein Obama. And I'll tell you why. Forget the fact that they're not willing to secure the border. Okay, just let that go. Take that off the table. I have been saying this now for a while, and now it has been officially confirmed. According to a story by Catherine Herridge, by the way, superb reporter at Fox News, she's very good, foxnews.com, there is now a new intelligence assessment from the Drug Enforcement Agency along with Homeland Security. They did a joint intelligence assessment with the people in El Paso, Texas. It is a 10-page July 7 report, whereby now our own intelligence has concluded, contrary to what the Democrats have been saying, contrary to what the dear leader has been saying, contrary to what the liberal progressives have been saying, the reason why thousands upon thousands upon thousands of children, teenagers, and gangbangers have been crossing our border and being dumped is not because of the violence in Central America. It's not because of the drug war in Central America. In fact, according to our own intelligence assessments, violence has gone down in those three countries. According to our own intelligence assessment, check this out. They interviewed 230 migrants. 219 of the 230. These are first-hand accounts, first-hand interviews, first-hand reports. They say the primary reason for them coming to the United States had nothing to do with the drug violence, had nothing to do with fleeing political persecution or seeking asylum, was because they said they are migrating to the United States because of the perception of U.S. immigration laws granting free passes, or as they call them, permisos, to unaccompanied children and adult females traveling with minors. And they said the reason why they believed that the U.S. immigration laws were now basically going to give free passes or permisos to unaccompanied minors and females with children traveling with minors is because of Obama's claims in 2012, 2013. This is what they're telling our own intelligence people, that he had now granted amnesty or de facto amnesty to the children of illegal immigrants through the DREAM Act. And that he said he would not deport the children of illegal immigrants. It was because of Obama's own policies, his own illegal executive orders. And so the word got out, according now to our own intelligence, that the coyotes, the human smugglers tied to the Mexican drug cartels, went down to Latin America, Central America, and said, hey, the dumb gringos, led by dumb gringo number one, El Presidente, is now saying if you're a child, you get to stay in the United States even if your parents are illegal, even if you're illegal. So all you have to do is get your child up into the United States from Central America. We'll take care of the costs. We'll smuggle them up there for a fee, $5,000, $6,000, $7,000. And once they're there, they can't go anywhere. And then under family reunification, the laws of the immigration laws of this country, you can then be reunited, la familia, together in America, in Gringoland. This is a direct result of Obama's own policies. He provided the magnet for this latest surge. Words have meaning. When the president speaks, people listen. And so now, according to even the Texas Border Patrol, they're saying a major reason why they're finding all these dead bodies is because you think a 5, 6, 7-year-old kid can just walk from Honduras or El Salvador? The coyotes, the human traffickers, are taking advantage of this, telling them, no. The dear leader pushed the DREAM Act. Congress rolled over. If you're a child or a teenager, they're not going to deport you. And then once you're there, they have to have family reunification. Better yet, come with your mother. You're guaranteed. He brought about this crisis. He invited them to come. His policies acted as a magnet. This is all at the feet of the dear leader. And now you have, not only now are we finding dead bodies, dead children. My God, the wolves ate this kid up. They took all the flesh, all the skin. There's just bones. It's a skull and I'm staring at skull and at a skull and bones. Animals feasted upon this dead migrant body. People are now dying because of this man's reckless, irresponsible policies. Now, on top of this, I want you to think about this. Okay? Think about this. We now have at least 60,000 of these unaccompanied minors, quote unquote, that have already come across the border. According to Catherine Herridge's reporting, to the intelligence people that she's spoken to and in their report, they are now predicting 90,000 will come in by the end of this year, and by next year it's going to jump and swell to 160,000. There's no end. There's no end. No nation can absorb this many people. No nation. Never mind sick children. Never mind the diseases. Never mind the criminals. Never mind the gangbangers. Never mind the potential terrorists. This is an unmitigated disaster. And as this is going on, God as my witness, I'm not making this up. You can look it up. Senate Majority Leader Dirty Harry Reid, Dirty Harry, actually publicly proclaimed, publicly declared, the border is secure. The border is completely secure. Harry Reid came out and said the border is secure. It's secure. In fact, you know what? Don't even take my word. I swear. You're saying, Jeff, come on. I mean, now, every nightly newscast, it doesn't matter. Even the mainstream media, for God's sakes, is saying this is an incredible humanitarian crisis. You have video, you have pictures, you have film. They're just coming across the border. You can see them in refugee centers all over the country. Plane loads coming into mass in one of many states. And this guy actually says, no, it's completely secure. What are you talking about? There's no problem. It's complete. We got it all under control. It's completely secure. Here is Dirty Harry in his own words. Unbelievable. Roll it, Brittany.
I believe that our number one concern should be this narrow issue of how we take care of this situation we have on the border. And that as I've been told, the Kuhner legislation covers a lot of other issues other than the problem we're having at the border. Remember, had we done comprehensive immigration reform, we wouldn't be having this issue. And everyone here the border is secure.
He's a lunatic. No, honestly. See, we're talking about this earlier. Cooksey and I were before the show. I said, is he a pathological liar? Or is he literally a lunatic? And Cooksey made a very good point. He said, no, he can't be lying. Because it's so obvious that he's lying. I mean, it would be like him saying, no, the sky is purple. No. The sky is yellow. It's yellow. The sky is not blue, it's yellow. It's so ridiculously disconnected from reality that this man is he's mentally ill. The man is he's a lunatic. The man is an absolute lunatic. I would remove him. I swear to you. After that comment, if Ted Cruz's people are listening, Ted, if I were you right now, I'd go on the Senate floor and say he has to be impeached. He's a lunatic. He's mentally ill. I want him to take a psychological examination. Ask him what country we're in. Ask him his name. Ask him when he was born. Because this man is a lunatic. He may think we're on Mars. I swear, the man is, to say the border is secure, you're a lunatic. You're a lunatic. But it gets, now, just to show you the hypocrisy, check this baby out. So, on the one hand, as Senate Democrats are saying the border, it's secure, it's completely secure. House Democrats, as thousands of illegal immigrant children are now crossing the border week after week after week. House Democrats held a Twitter town hall yesterday on immigration. They are pushing for amnesty. They want even more guest worker visas. It's like Americans. There's so many jobs here. Oh my God. We have to give out worker visas because all our workers are they all have jobs. Unemployment is at 0%. We don't know what to do with all these extra jobs that we have. We have to fill up. We need more people. We need more visas. What are we going to do? My God. People got to start taking on 2 jobs here because there's so many jobs out there. They want more guest worker visas, more amnesty, and they want $3.7 billion that Obama is asking in funding to basically house and take care of these illegal immigrants, plus to arm every one of them with a lawyer. According to Congressman John Lewis from the Congressional Black Caucus, the message to illegal immigrants is this, quote, "Our doors are open." Quote, here's what he said in the Twitter message. "We are all connected. We can't just build a wall or a fence and say no more." According to Lewis, this is America. Our doors are open. This is America. Our doors are open. Come on down. 100,000, 200,000, 500,000, 1 million, 5 million, 10 million, 20 million. There are no walls. There is no fence. This is America. Our doors are open. Everybody come. This is one of the most reckless, irresponsible statements I have ever read in my life. Because you know what the message is going to be registered by these coyotes and people all across Mexico and Central America and Latin America? Former Speaker Nancy Pelosi, all of the House Democrats are saying, our doors are open. We have an open door policy. Come on down. They're inviting millions more to come. So, is the border secure or is it open? Because now they're telling us 2 different things. My friends, we are being invaded. And the Democrats in Congress have now sided with the enemy, and they are now aiding and abetting the invasion of our country. There's a word for that. It's called treason. 617-266-6868 is the number. 921 on the Great WRKO. All of your calls next. Welcome back to the Kuhner Report. 924 here on the Great WRKO. On sale now at GetMyPerks.com is 47% off a Boston City Pass. Discover Boston's attractions. Find something new for your kids or show a visitor around town with the Boston City Pass. This pass includes admission to the New England Aquarium, the Museum of Science, the Museum of Fine Arts, and so much more. Passes are only $39 for children and only $54 for adults. Tour the best of Boston by getting a City Pass right now at GetMyPerks.com. Brought to you by Get My Perks and Boston's talk station, AM 680 WRKO. Paul, you're up next on WRKO. Thanks for holding and welcome.
Morning, Jeff.
Hey.
I live in Somerville, the All-American Sanctuary City. Now, in East Somerville, it's predominantly people from Central America, El Salvador. Now, right outside my house is a bus stop that takes people to Kendall Square. There's probably about a dozen people out there now. I would imagine most of them voted for Obama or didn't vote at all. What these people don't understand is what people like Michael Savage, Gerald Salenti have touched upon. If you do not protect your borders, you don't encourage and insist that people learn the language of English and also the culture to be American, then the country as we know it, as a once great country, is going to become tumbling down. And these people that come in, the illegals, they exploit their own people, first of all. The MS-13 may not necessarily break into your house, but you don't have a problem with them hurting their own women and their own children. So that's how I define cultures, how so-called men treat women and children. Whether I get that from being a Christian and I looked at the way Jesus protected women and children, these people are risking their lives to come here like it's a game of Monopoly. And the other lie or the other cover-up is that the vast majority of them are teenage boys. And we know what teenage boys do without a strong father or without a spiritual upbringing. They wreak havoc on the rest of society.
Bingo. You nailed it, Paul. Look, a nation that doesn't protect its borders is no longer a nation. And what the Democrats are now saying, when they say, this is America, our borders are open, is they're basically saying, we want to extinguish America as a nation. We want to destroy America as a nation. And let me tell you what's going on. And nobody else has the guts to say it, so I'm going to say it. It is, I believe, a plan by the liberal elites in this country to wipe out America's historic cultural core. They want a policy of essentially resettling people from Latin America, bringing them here, giving them food stamps, giving them welfare, placing them in refugee camps, having them vote, so eventually the old Native American stock will essentially be wiped away. It is slow motion ethnic cleansing. That's what's going on here. Basically come in, bring in people from all other countries around the world, dilute America to the point where we're no longer America. I mean, to me, it's so obvious what's going on. How can any responsible congressman who is supposed to have taken a vow to protect and defend the Constitution of the United States from all enemies, foreign and domestic, stand there and openly say not to enforce the laws of this country and enforce our border? When you're telling to criminals who are breaking our laws, come on down, you've committed treason. I mean, to me, it's as simple as that. So, to me now, the entire Democrats in the House, as far as I'm concerned, have now laid the groundwork for their impeachment. I mean, our founding fathers must be rolling in their grave. We fought a revolution for this? 617-266-6868 is the number. Janine, you're up next. Thanks for holding and welcome.
Good morning, Jeff. I don't know if you have the stomach to watch the news at night, but in the last couple of weeks, I've been watching Bill O'Reilly and that Kirsten Powers who's on there. The more I listen to her, the more I know Michael Savage is right about liberalism being a real mental disorder. She just flagrantly says We need to accept every child who walks across the border. And Bill O'Reilly is sitting there in disbelief. What? And she's admonishing him for mocking her and what she's saying. Yes, every child. There are only 60,000 children, Bill. And he says, and you think it's going to stop there? She has no development of her thought in order to come to a logical conclusion of what's happening down there. It is remarkable that these people just lose their intellect whatsoever when it comes to this business with the children invading our border.
Janine, you're right, but it's even worse than that. She's a hypocrite and a liar, and I can prove it. She says we can absorb all these children? No problem. How many of you adopted, Kristen? 1, 2, 3? Because I'll tell you right now, I adopted 2 kids, and it's not cheap. Now, I had to pay $60,000 for each child because it was a domestic adoption. I bet you can adopt these kids for free. Just take them in, give them a roof, feed them, and give them vaccinations. You take care of them, Kristen. Oh, you don't want to take care of them. You want Lynn to take care of them. You want Chelsea to take care of them. You want Lowell to take care of them because you don't live in those communities. You live in your ritzy little gated community like all you other limousine liberals. And you stand there and you pontificate, we can take all the children. No, we can't. No nation can. Ask the mayor of Lynn. Schools are overcrowded. They don't even know if they can keep their teachers for next year because resources are being so strained. Hospitals overcrowded. I mean, we are bankrupting our own country. So, if Kirsten Powers really wants to take care of the children, take in a few. How come John Lewis doesn't take in kids? How come Nancy Pelosi doesn't take in kids? Better yet, how come we don't send them to San Francisco? Nancy Pelosi, you say they're all Americans? Why doesn't San Francisco take them? Instead, you ship them around to every other community in the country except your own. You phony, you fraud, you. Comrade 1, how you are, comrade?
Oh, muy bien, F.A., muy bien. Jeff, first of all, the border is secure around Harry Reid's new gated community, okay? Secondly, please, stop calling them children. That's what the mainstream's doing. I just watched a video of a bunch of them getting off buses with EBT cards going into Walmart to do their shopping, okay? Here's the plan. Alienate them. Don't give them jobs. Enough is enough. And I really wish that you would look into that thing I told you about the North American Union. There is no America anymore, Jeff. That is why the border is wide open. It's Canada, Mexico, and the United States, and Canada's holding off for a little while until they get everyone from the south up to here, and then that border's going to open, Jeff. Huge trouble. Please spend 2 minutes and look into it. Lou Dobbs on the North American Union exposed.
Thank you very much for that call, comrade. Very good call. 617-266-6868, 932 on the great WRKO. More with your calls next. 9:39 here on the great WRKO. Jeff Kuhner, Boston's bulldozer, cleaning up the liberal bull. All right, my friends, brace yourselves. Okay, you want to see how bad the situation is getting, how outrageous, how the dear leader and his cronies are thumbing their nose and mocking us, like almost slapping us in our face. Check out this, okay? Go to the Drudge Report. You can see the story for yourself because you're not going to believe this one. The dear leader, the Obama administration, has now awarded a $50 million contract to a charitable group, the Baptist Child and Family Services Group. Now, you may say, Jeff, what's the big deal? So they gave a $50 million contract to this Baptist Child and Family Services Group. Why? What's the reason for this $50 million? Our money is now going for what? To buy the Palm Air Resort and Hotel in Texas. Okay, it's just actually a few miles north of the Rio Grande in Hidalgo County. It is to place these juvenile illegal aliens. It is to house them and to give them their own compound. It is for illegal aliens ages 12 to 17. It's a resort hotel. They're going to be staying. It's a 600-bed facility. It's scheduled to be open on October 1st. The $50 million is now going. They have bought this. They bought the whole thing. It's a resort. It's a hotel and resort. And you got to look at this. It's apparently the resort hotel for illegal alien children is reportedly the first in the nation. It's got saunas. It's got steam rooms. It's got jacuzzis. It's got not one, but two massive pools, one indoor and one outdoor, one of them being Olympic-sized. There are 2 racquetball courts, multiple outdoor tennis courts, a beautiful fitness center, apparently 20 machines for working out, as well as free weights. Beautiful beds. They're going to have a nice spread, well taken care of, 600 beds. It's basically an entertainment mecca. It's a pleasure palace. However, to be sensitive to the needs of these illegal juvenile aliens, 14, 15, 16-year-olds, they have to also build a soccer field for them. Because tennis is not really their game. Racquetball is not really their game. So they're going to build a massive soccer field with a perimeter fence. So they can have some, play soccer as I guess they wait to be sent off to other places across the country. Maybe to Lynn, as they're waiting to be sent to Lynn. So now we are paying for them to be housed and placed, I swear to you, at a $50 million hotel and resort. The mayor of Los Angeles, in another story, straight from the Los Angeles Times, is now Eric Garcetti, is now working with nonprofit groups all across Los Angeles, saying he wants them to shelter all of these illegal immigrant children. He says, look, as a father, it's only the right thing to do is to step up and help the poor children. It's all about the children. Homeless activists are saying, let me get this straight. We have homeless people in Los Angeles sleeping on almost every street corner. There's no shelters for us, but now you want thousands of shelters for foreigners? You want thousands of shelters for people who have come in here illegally? How come they get to the front of the line and we don't? So according to homeless activist Ted Hayes, who apparently has lived in Los Angeles for 3 decades, he opposes the idea, and check this out, just to show you the kind of a nativist that he is. He insists there are American kids on city streets who need help first. Quote, it's kind of a slap in the face to U.S. citizens, Ted Hayes said. You think, Ted? You think it's a slap in the face? You think? He continues, quote, it's embarrassing, it's hurtful, because it's like a father saying that he loves children outside of the family more than he loves his own. Bingo. Bingo. How come we're not placing our own homeless people? How come we're not placing our own children in that expensive hotel and resort in Texas? How come we can't put our own homeless people in shelters, but suddenly now there's room for all of these illegals coming in? Because the dear leader wants the votes of their parents and the larger illegal community here in the United States? And as all of this is taking place, African Americans protesting in South Side of Chicago because there's not enough cops on the street. People now in the homeless in Los Angeles saying no shelters for us. As all the military getting pink slips as they're fighting in Afghanistan. The dear leader again says he wants $3.7 billion to help house and process and place all of these massive illegals being dumped on our border. Here is White House spokesman Josh Earnest saying, we want that third $3.7 billion. We want that money. Give us the $3.7 billion. We want it now.
We would like to see, first and foremost, Congress take action on the specific proposal that we've put forward to ensure that our administration has the necessary resources to deal with the spike.
Have you noticed? When it comes to the deadbeats, to people on welfare, to the takers, notice their EBT cards get charged up every month. There's always unlimited amounts of money. For the illegals, there's always unlimited amounts of money. But when it comes to our roads, no. Oh, no, it's a fiscal austerity. When it comes to the border, oh, no, we can't build that wall. We can't afford it. When it comes to our military, oh, no, we got to make cuts. We need cuts. My friends, this immigration crisis is exposing how anti-American, how much the liberals in this country truly hate America. 617-266-6868. They are putting foreigners, criminals, ahead of their own people. That tells you everything you need to know. Mary, you're up next. Thanks for holding. Welcome.
Hi, Jeff. Thank you so much for taking my call.
My pleasure.
Listen, I mean, when I'm listening to you, I'm like, why don't you just send them to Guantanamo Bay, Gizmo, and there's already a soccer field there. But the reason why I'm calling, let that go, Jeff. The reason why I'm calling is I called Congressman Lynch's office the other day, and I spoke to his person in charge of all these issues. And I said, my concern is that the border is not secure and that there's going to be terrorists and criminals coming forward and kids with a lot of medical issues. Oh, no, Jeff. No problem here. They're all screened, they're all clean, no terrorists coming through here. I go, really? I go, okay, I'm gonna quote you on that.
Yeah, and Mary, I mean, what about the drug cartels coming in? I mean,
oh my God, Jeff.
And they're saying, I mean, literally, and Mary, look, last night Bill O'Reilly did his talking points.
I watched him.
Did you see how he mentioned Lynn?
Yes.
Listen, Lynn, we've made it. We're now on Fox. We're now the symbol for a third world city in the United States.
I couldn't believe it.
This is it, Lynn. We're the butt of jokes.
Oh, man, Jeff. Thank you for doing everything you're doing.
Thank you so much, Mary. No, really, to the libs of Massachusetts, you did it. You did it. You really did it. We're now the first third world city in the United States. You did it. Do we have O'Reilly on Lynn? Okay, here's Bill O'Reilly, Fox News. Now, when you think Lynn, I swear, the whole country, Lynn, you think third world. You think illegals overrunning a city. Third world. A third world city. Roll it, Britain.
In Lynn, Massachusetts, a working-class suburb of Boston, the school district says foreign students have increased by more than 500 in the past 3 years. Last year in Lynn, nearly 250 students from Guatemala alone enrolled in the public schools there. That puts an incredible burden on the local citizens of Lynn, who are not generally affluent people. Just the language problems alone strain the system. There comes a time when Americans have to realistically assess their federal government. And if you are paying attention, that assessment is grim and getting worse by the week.
We did it. I mean, that's it now. We've gone national. We've gone international. Now, they're going to do to America what they're doing to Lynn. Lynn is the first, and it's going to be city after city after city. But Brittany made a very good point to me off the air. She said, you know, people used to come to Lynn. It was a city of opportunity. There were businesses. It was, in fact, a hubbing middle-class suburb. People don't know this about Lynn. It used to be the shoe capital of the United States. Up until the 1950s, you mention Lynn, you think middle-class prosperity. And Lynn is a microcosm of America. Unlimited immigration, massive tax increases, runaway deficit and spending, loss of manufacturing jobs. And look at it. The only thing keeping Lynn afloat is GE. You take away that General Electric plant, and Lynn is Detroit. GE is the only thing keeping Lynn from becoming an absolute toilet. Literally, it's the only thing keeping it from becoming Detroit. A hollowed-out ghost town. And pretty soon, with the strain on all the budgets because of these massive illegal immigrants, it's going to be worse than Detroit. No, my question to the Guatemalans in Lynn is, when all the businesses have gone, and all the property owners have gone, and all the taxpayers have gone, who's going to pay for your welfare checks? To all the illegal Guatemalans, who's going to pay for your welfare checks? 617-266-6868. My friends, I have seen the future in Lynn, and it doesn't work.
Your real-life comments section.
And it's time for somebody to call BS on that, and I'm the guy to do it.
This is AM 680 WRKO. Where freedom rings.
I thank you so much for taking my call.
Call.
Thank you for taking my call. You have a great day.
After call.
Thanks for taking my call, young man.
Every day.
You're just speaking my mind. I wish there were more of them like you.
You're a great patriot, and I really value your insight into everything that you say.
One station, Under Talk, with news and information for all.
I think you are the embodiment of the American dream and American individualism.
AM 680 WRKO, Boston's talk station.
9:57 here on the great WRKO. Helen, you're up next, and welcome to the Kuhner Report.
Very much, and thank you for having me, and welcome back.
Oh, thank you, Helen.
You're a breath of fresh air.
Oh, thank you.
I'm coming from a completely different direction here because I'm an old lady. I'm in my 80s. I'm first-generation American, and I probably don't think properly, but anyway. I'm listening to all the locations where they're bringing these children, and I'm also thinking of the distraction this is to us. And we don't know who's coming in. And if you don't look back at history, you don't know what's going on. And I was thinking of the Helen of Troy with the now I've lost my train of thought. You know, with the big horse.
The Trojan horse?
That's it. Thank you so much. I feel as though there's something up because in Massachusetts, if you take Salem, Lynn, Lowell, Lawrence, you can go along the water with Lynn and Salem. They're going to take us over once this is settled because the Islamic people are going to be all here to take us over.
Helen, look, I can just tell you this. The reason why they're dumping them in those cities, those they want as democratic strongholds. They're not stupid. They know exactly what they're doing. So that's why the Democrats want open borders. That's why the dear leader wants them here. You get them here in those working class neighborhoods, and my friends, you are creating democratic. They want for America what they've done here in Massachusetts, a one-party state. If it destroys America, they couldn't care less. Eileen, you're up next. I got about a minute. Go.
Hi, my name is Eileen. Nice to talk to you. I am a liberal and a Democrat. I don't want open borders. I think this idea of the hotel for the kids is outrageous. Why don't we build military barracks? Otherwise, we're housing aliens in a better fashion than we house our troops.
It's outrageous. And thank you for that call, Eileen. 617-266-6868 has been the number. My friends, I gotta go. I'm up against it. Remember, you've been listening to Boston's Bulldozer. And together, we're beating liberals one day at a time. I'll see you all tomorrow, same place, same time, on the great WRKO.
News at the top and bottom, talk in between.
Executing assigned host duties flawlessly because I can't do wrong.
This is AM 680 WRKO, Boston.